Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to our WebEx conference with members of the Clean Network who are participating in various climate education and literacy activities in Paris at COP21. I first want to acknowledge the support of the Federation of Earth Science Information Partners and the Foundation for Earth Science who are hosting this WebEx for us, so thank you very much. We have a number of people today who are going to be talking to us. First, I'll go through the list of names and then I'll turn it over to the first speaker. Juliet Rooney-Varga is there with the Climate Interactive effort in their World Climate Games. And then Frank Niepold is there with the Youth for Climate effort. And Joanna Boswa is there with Earth Day Network and supporting the Youth for Climate effort. And then Jen Kretzer and Gina Farelli are there from the Wild Center, and Gina is also a sophomore at the University of Vermont. So that's the range of speakers we'll have today. And so I'm going to first turn it over to Juliet to have her report on what she's been involved with at COP21 so far.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tamara. So first of all, I just really want to say thanks to everybody for tuning in and for being a part of this effort. I feel like it's been great for us here in Paris to get a little energized and be excited to take this work back home and to really work with our partners, at home to make exciting new things happen, and that's all about you and about the Clean Network, and so thank you for that. We thought we'd start off by just sharing some images from the conference and kind of our first impressions of what we saw, in my mind especially, like how this is different from other conferences that I've gone to, and what I think we're hoping to take home. So I think it's still early on in the conference, as I'm sure you all know, and we'll be learning a lot in the days to come. But so far, let's see if I can get to the, okay, we'll go. Here's some images of what things are looking like. So definitely different from what I'm used to seeing at scientific conferences. Lots of people all over the place and huddling into, making this, to speaking with each other, to learning from each other. Here's an image from the U.S. Center. I'm sure this is familiar to many of you. The Science on the Sphere exhibit that NOAA is leading there. Also, another image from the U.S. Center, which is one of the larger pavilions here at COP. And I snapped this photo because I think this really sums up what I'm seeing and hearing a lot here at COP21 is this idea that there's momentum for change. And I think for those of us who are working in this field, we need a little bit of this, right? It's not an easy slog to be dealing with the science and the odds that are stacked up against us. And so I think it's really encouraging and frankly inspiring to be in a place where most of the talk is about solutions and moving the world in a new direction. So I thought I would share with you a little bit of work that we're doing with my partners here at Climate Interactive. They have released a press release in the last day or two, taking a look at not just the current INDCs, but also what we're calling a ratchet success scenario, which is what it would take to achieve at least a 66% likelihood of a 2-degree outcome and a 50% likelihood of a 1.8 degree C outcome. So it's a 1.8 degree C, ratchet success outcome. So what you see here, if you can you make that out? Is it too small? Hopefully you can.
We can see it.
So great. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, great. So what you see here is if any of you have played the World Climate Simulation, then hopefully this looks familiar. But you'll see the world broken down into these different groups: U.S., EU, India, China, other developed and other developing, and their emissions trajectories with business as usual over here on the left-hand side, and that is basically RCP 8.5, or that higher emission scenario. And then this is an interpretation of the current INDCs. These are the intended nationally determined contributions that have been pledged at COP21 by different countries. And so this is looking at, with some assumptions, of course, about what would happen post-2030, because people have not, countries have not put those pledges on the table yet. So in this case, the assumption is that no further action, just basically continuing along with the pledges that have been made up till 2030 would occur after that time period. And that leads us to an outcome that's around 3.5 degrees C, so not something that we want to be engaging with, since we know what since we have some sense of what the climate impacts would be, and certainly they would be devastating. And then this is the 1.8 ratchet success scenario on the right-hand side, and you can see that that is a really dramatic departure from what the current INDCs look like. And just to break that down a little bit more, taking a look at different regions, so here's the US on the left-hand side, the EU, and China. We've got no action in blue, current INDCs in red, and the ratchet success scenario, that 1.8 scenario, going down to very close to zero emissions by the end of the century, and actually doing so quite quickly. So here's for the US, for EU, for China, and you can see the gap between current INDCs and those ratchet success scenarios. And then going down, we've got India, Mexico, and Brazil, similar stories. And going back to Frank with his Youth for Climate, because, and he's holding an iPad with those ratchet success scenarios, because that's why we're all here, right? We're here to really address the education needs, education for mobilization, for action, for solutions that need to happen in order to make these ratchet success scenarios a possibility. And I thought I would mention too, I had the pleasure of meeting one of the delegates from the Marshall Islands today, and their group actually met with President Obama, and demanded that we hear a lot in the scientific community about how, 2 degrees is impossible, 1.5 is like a pipe dream, it's completely impossible, forget about it, and really, frankly, when I'm sure many of you have had this dilemma when you're facing a group of students who are going to be living their life out during a time when these scenarios are played out. It's really hard to look at them and say, well, yep, 2 degrees, forget about it, it's a pipe dream, and 1.5, don't even bother. And the thing that this delegate was asking the Climate Interactive team to do, and others, not just them, but really the whole scientific community to do, was to not let go of that 1.5 degree scenario and to provide more analysis that showed feasible pathways, because for them, failure is not an option. It's just not, they're just not willing to contemplate it. And so I think that one of the things that for me has been really hopeful and really exciting is this idea that no, we're not going to, we know that it's going to take a lot. We know that it might not seem feasible. Interestingly, in science, we often think about those reinforcing feedback loops or positive feedback loops that are really scary in the climate system. Well, we don't know when Arctic methane is going to start bubbling out. We don't know how quickly ice sheets will disintegrate. And this woman, she came back with, we don't know how fast social systems can respond to this challenge. And once those nonlinear reinforcing feedbacks come into play, we could address this challenge much more quickly than we think we can. So model that for me, please. And so I just want to take that back to us all and hope that we can rise to that challenge. And it's also been very heartening to hear of our leaders taking responsibility, of President Obama taking responsibility for the U.S., for our, historical and high cumulative emissions, and at least saying that we're willing to step up and help, start to move some of these curves in a different direction. So I think so as far as what I'm specifically doing in the next few days, we've got a lot of activities that we're really excited about. We've got a webinar coming up on Thursday. We have a simulation we're going to be running on Friday. We've got meetings with the press, potentially on several days. And we're also working to provide that 1.5 degree analysis so that you know, that's available to delegates as they kind of work through the details of what's going to happen next. And the other thing that I'm really excited to report on is that for the World Climate Project, we had set a goal for reaching 10,000 people, participants in World Climate globally by the end of COP21. And we have reached that goal, and so we're ready to, you know, to take it to the next. Maybe we can throw on a few zeros. We'll see where that goes. So happy to take any questions and hand it off to my friends here.
So Juliet, this is Tamara. So this 1.5 scenario, are you trying to do that to provide guidance to the different delegates? And how are you sort of distributing that among the different communities represented in the software?
Yeah, okay, great question. So there's a little bit of echo. I don't know if we can.
I'll mute my phone.
Okay, thanks, Tamara. So basically the approach has been, and I don't want to take credit for work that I'm involved with, but I'm not doing directly. So the Climate Interactive team has been, at COP what was it, 15, right, in Copenhagen, there was much more of an effort to get information directly to delegates or simulate the simulation directly to delegates or analysts that were briefing delegates. In this case, the approach has actually been a little bit different. It's more to provide not just here's the model, do what you want with it, because that actually led to a situation where sometimes different delegations would sort of use the model to point fingers at each other, say, well, you can't, we're not going to be able to get this done unless you do this, and we can't, so rather than kind of look at it from a whole system where they all needed to work together, they were more interested in pointing fingers at each other. So in this case, the approach has been more about providing analyses and then getting those out to the media in the form of press releases. And the great piece about this is that it's been taken up by the media very effectively. So we have a lot of confidence that the press releases, which are not just analyses, but are also coming with a message, sort of here's the breakdown, here's what it looks like from a global perspective, without pointing any fingers, this is what we've all got to do together. That message can be a part of the press release. And as far as like today, for example, the conversation with this delegate from the Marshall Islands, she was really helpful in terms of saying like, look, like India is not going to tolerate. She took a look at the ratchet scenario and said, you've got to be careful because we know that India is going to back out if this looks, if the peak, they don't even want to talk about peaking. It needs to be later than everybody else. And, she can provide some guidance about sort of what analyses might be a non-starter, what scenarios might be a non-starter in terms of the delegates' conversations or negotiations amongst themselves. But it's not so much about letting them have full play with, although anybody can download zeros, so they can certainly do it, but it's not, I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess it's more, it's been more of an approach to sort of getting press releases with the whole story out to the world.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. So you want to pass it on to Frank now?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself.
There we go. You guys have let's see. I got to share my desktop. there it is, share my screen. Bear with us. There we go. So just go full screen on this. So let me know, can you guys all see what I'm showing?
Yeah, looks good.
Awesome. So the reason I chose this slide, and I hope you guys can appreciate what we're doing here. December 3rd is the 1-year anniversary of the White House Climate Education and Literacy Initiative. And Juliet, when she mentioned the 10,000 number, that was a commitment under the White House Climate Education and Literacy Initiative that came out, actually, if I remember right, in August 20th. And so, you know, we've been building, and the image is from a roundtable that happened with the Champions of Change back in February. And you'll notice a young lady sitting next to Administrator McCarthy. That's Gina, and you can see her name right next to it. She was one of the students who was sitting next to wow, I need more sleep, guys. It's been a long set of days. Next to the administrator, and also John Holdren was in that room. If you look over here at this little picture here, my mouse is not showing up, you see a young lady, Avalon. She is also here representing the Green School Alliance. So you have youth here, and the White House has been very active at bringing the youth voice forward as it relates to climate. In December, we also made a commitment in 2014 to have a series of youth summits. Jen Crester, who's also with us today from the Wild Center, plus Walter Stavlos from Aztec and Department of Energy, and then later NOAA, committed to doing this, and that led to a side event being submitted and accepted by State Department. That side event is, you know, it was just supposed to be a side event, but then it grew into something much more. And so one of the couple of things I'm going to be showing you guys here is, if you're not aware, there's a whole new section in climate.gov where we've been raising the youth voice. And there's a blog that we put together in the White House. It came out on the 12th. But then also, the reason why it came out on the 12th was we pushed really hard to build a social media strategy about bringing the youth voice through a lot of these initiatives, through something that a group of us together with, you know, the Wild Center and Aztec, NOAA, Department of Energy, Earth Day Network, and Johanna will be here in just a second, and Climate Interactive, and Juliet, and I'm obviously leaving out names. Connect for Climate was a great partner in this, Alliance for Climate Education, and the list goes on. Where we tried to figure out how to coordinate our strategies that related to COP, but we also realized very quickly that it was bigger than that. This was not just for COP. It was beyond that. So one of the strategies went forward, and I don't know if you guys all remember, but one of my responsibilities at NOAA is to represent the United Nations Framework Convention reporting requirements, which is to every 4 years write something called the Climate Action Report, the CAR. And in that is Chapter 9, and that is about Article 6, which is now the Act on Climate Empowerment. It's the new name for Article 6 activities, and I met with the leadership of that just today. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out how to do is how to share our initiatives, our programs, our successes, our partnership potential with others in other parts of the world, and because they're also implementing ACE or Article 6 initiatives. And so we built these case studies. So if you, this new part of climate.gov, Teaching Climate, has a series of case studies that are all, you know, out of the community around something about youth engagement, climate youth engagement. And each one of these, you know, different community members submitted these. If there are more, it's very easy to add more. And any one of these, and there's been a lot of activity this year, and a lot of it has been led by Jen Crester. And so the Youth Climate Summit Scale-Up Initiative was part of the Wild Center's leadership in partnership with the Alliance for Climate Education. And where that all led was on yesterday. Was it yesterday? No. Is today the second? Oh God, it was yesterday. So much is happening, it's hard to keep track. We had a summit, which was at 1:15 Paris time, 7:15 a.m. East Coast time, and a little bit earlier if you were over in the West Coast. But I don't know how many of you guys saw that, but it's been recorded. I don't have the archive yet. But we had a panel conversation with some experts and some scientific experts, and we had a keynote from Dr. Holdren about the importance of education and youth engagement and what we're trying to do at COP. And right before that was the president. So in the U.S. Center, and so, you know, I'll show you an image. I'm just going to my Twitter feed. You can see in this image here, if it shows up, this is what happened. And that screen that has our banner image, the president spoke right before, and everyone was sitting there listening to him. And at the end of his speech at the COP21 meeting, he made an incredibly strong, impassioned, and crystal clear statement on the power of youth in solving this problem. Not handing it over to them, but in their ongoing creativity, activity, passion, ingenuity, and I think that that's a lot of why we're here in education and why we connect climate and education and why engaging youth in this is such a critical piece. So the panel went along beautifully. And so maybe Jen and Gina, if you want to reflect on your experience there. But before I do that, we also are going to have another event, and I'm going to, after we finish today, I'm going to send out a note to remind you guys that at 3 o'clock on Thursday, the 3rd, Paris time, which is, 9 a.m. Eastern time, there's an event at the Science Center, similar program, similar speakers, but more, where we're going to really expand on the power and the activities and the successes and the plans to move forward on youth engagement within the context of informal science education. And the last thing I'm going to say on this is one of my last questions in the panel discussion with Gina and Jeanette from Detroit was, if you hadn't had this experience and you only had what you had in formal education, your K-12 education space, would you have connected the impacts and the passion and the activity? And I think their answer was no, because if you look at all the case studies that are in the climate.gov space, you're seeing a lot of informal education institutions, place-based institutions, NGOs working with informal institutions that are really connecting powerfully with youth in a way that isn't done yet in classrooms. It's important work, but there's an activation that translates into passion and a redirection of where they're going with their life. That cannot be underestimated, and I think that the successes of what's happening in the informal institutions has to be appreciated here, especially in the context of youth engagement. But, Gina, Jen, I'm gonna go on mute here. I'm going to still just keep it on the image here, but I'll be on mute just so that you guys don't hear. Actually, you guys can talk. Since you're not in the room with us, it won't cause a problem for us. So, Gina, Jen, you want to?
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi, this is Gina. Jen is sitting right next to me, but yeah, I would agree with everything you just said. You hit the nail right on the head there. Really, the summit for me as a student has been pivotal, and really did kind of create my career path when I didn't have one before. I was thinking about doing something else with my life. So I think the same is for a lot of other students. What students are getting in school is important, but it's not enough, and we have to really make it personal for students and connect them to the issues that climate change will give them in their life, but how they can solve them as well.
And this is Jen Kretzer. I'm the Director of Programs at the Wild Center, which is a science museum in northern New York State located in the heart of the Adirondack Park. And so we've been working on the Youth Summit idea, the idea of convening youth and bringing them together to learn about climate change, but also to create solutions and to create action plans that they can bring back to their schools. It is very student-driven. So the students help plan the Youth Climate Summit. We bring together about, this year we had 250 students that participated, but I work with a smaller core group of students that really help with all of the planning and help decide like what speakers will come. And they, in the process of that, they learn valuable tools on student leadership. Right now on the screen is a group of 3 students that actually attended Al Gore's Climate Reality Leadership Training, and that training really gave them the tools, the communication tools and the science, some of the science background, and then within the framework of the Youth Climate Program run through my science museum, they really took that to the community. So they've been presenting at other schools, at other youth climate summits. They've been presenting in front of decision makers. So they're, the youth voice is really opening up doors that myself as an adult wouldn't necessarily have, and getting us in front of a lot of different audiences that in the past maybe have not, you know, been as willing to listen to adults, but will listen to students because of the importance of that. We've now had summits and partnered with summits in Finland, Vermont, through Gina and her work for the last 2 years. Finland has been 4 years. We also worked with the Seattle Youth Climate Action Network, which is headed up through the Woodland Park Zoo, but also works with the Seattle Aquarium and the Pacific Science Center to host a Youth Climate Summit at Woodland Park Zoo this fall, as well as the Detroiters working for environmental justice and the Detroit EcoWorks, and they're looking specifically at environmental justice in the state of Michigan and Detroit, and that summit was hosted at the Michigan Science Center. And all of these are actually on this case study website through NOAA, and so you can see videos, there's contact information, and as the Wild Center, we actually have put together a lot of free online materials that you can download in terms of toolkits on how to plan a summit, and of course we'd love to talk to more people. But I'm going to let Gina talk a little bit more about maybe the experience of getting here to COP.
Yeah, so as many of you know, it's been a long time coming getting to COP. Lots of organizing and just a lot of work. So we hope that the impact of this conference will be felt. But I think that the start of it yesterday went really well. You know, I had the opportunity to speak on a panel, as Frank said earlier. This is Gina, by the way. I did have the opportunity to speak on a panel yesterday about youth engagement and climate change. It was at the U.S. Center inside the accreditation zone, and it was a really good way for us to start off this conference just by showcasing what youth have done and why it's important for the climate change movement for youth to be involved, and why it's necessary for us to be involved. Just because we are, as you know, we are the generation that will be bearing most of the impacts of climate change. Of course, we're already feeling those impacts, but as time progresses, we're really going to have to deal with it the most, and there's a lot that we can do. So our panel yesterday, we were joined by Jean-Pascal Yupsterly. He's the former vice chair of the IPCC, which was really exciting. And then it was me and then another youth named Jeanette Flores from Detroit. And we really just had a great conversation about why we feel motivated to take action on climate change, how we became motivated through our role with science centers or other community organizations, and how that impacted us and how it might impact other students, and what are the best ways to get students involved, which is something that's highlighted on the NOAA.gov website. So it was a really, really great event, and I'm hoping that throughout the rest of COP, we'll be able to continue that message about youth engagement and climate change.
And just lastly, to wrap up, to just hit again on what Frank had mentioned, the hashtag #4 for climate has been an incredible opportunity to leverage many different partners that came together and very quickly created a social media campaign that's had millions of impressions. And we're still pushing that, and we will continue to push that throughout COP. So if you're back home and you're in the U.S. or anywhere in the world and you are working with youth, get a photo and promote the hashtag Youth for COP. So it's a great way. I'm sorry, Youth for Climate. Also needing a little sleep. Youth for Climate, so that we can continue to make this effort widely heard and leverage that youth voice around the world to create change.
And the one last thing, and then Johanna, I'm going to pass it over to you, so then I'll go mute and pass it over. So is that as you can see, Aaron, you're already tweeting along with us, and I think that really the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish here is to raise this up. But I will tell you that the international community are very interested in working with us. And they're looking for collaborations, they're looking for resources, they're looking for opportunities to do exactly what we're doing here. I think there's a lot more of this type of work out there, and there are hallmarks of it. It's really an important piece of what we do. I think that we're just beginning this type of work, but the youth voice is really clear, it's very powerful. And it's appropriate for us to work in this space for education, and I think they're asking for much more. If you go back to this picture from that event in February, there's a summary, and I've sent it around through the Clean Network a couple times, so I could send it around if you want it again. But what was said there was that they want opportunities, they want their voice heard, they want you to invest in them, and they have a lot to bring to bear, and they want it done. Now, because they see this in very crystal clear terms, and I think that's a thing to respect, and I appreciate the White House's leadership in this area, because it's opened my eyes to a new form and a new space in education, which I think is really, really important. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to pass it over to Johanna, and you can just pick it up from there and kind of your impressions, and we'll go. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Hi, can people hear me?
Yep.
Great. And I'm just trying to share my my screen here. One moment. Let's see.
I think it popped up when, are they giving you the screen share?
Hey, Tamara, do you know how to, the screen sharing didn't pop up immediately.
It looks like you have the ball. Dan, do you know why she can't see?
Oh, okay. Here, got it. Yes. Frank just helped me. Thank goodness. All right. Teamwork all around here. So I just wanted to show you the first thing that I saw when I went into COP, and I think the majority of people did when they were walking in, was this awesome action that was put together, I believe, by the Girl Scouts. And it says, climate change education is empowering, fun, necessary, and an investment in our future. And they had everyone who was streaming in for the first day take pictures with this, exchange, put the puzzle pieces together. And then even again this morning, another action I saw in the exact same place as people are coming in was another group of youth advocating for climate change action. So, I mean, they are definitely involved in this space, and it's so wonderful to see that. And I think that it really speaks to the amount of hope that we can have kind of moving forward. And I know that a lot of the people on this call have talked about that and alluded to the kind of hope and momentum that we're seeing. And I think that youth are absolutely a huge component of that hope at COP21. So we were really, really happy to be at the event and listen to Gina and her other colleague student at the Youth for Climate event at the U.S. Center, and just a couple other pictures that I'm scrolling through here. Here they all are up there on stage, which was really, really wonderful. And I was impressed by their eloquence and their reflections on their time so far, and look forward to hearing from them more. Earth Day Network, we've just been loved, as many others have said here, how quickly the Youth for Climate group and initiative came together, and how COP21 has really turned into a wonderful space for all of us to get together to talk about how we move forward and how we can work together into the future, and really lift up the narrative and message of that climate change education is important. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that manifests. Earth Day Network, our big event will be happening with the UN Alliance on Friday on Education Day. There are two really key days that are upcoming, which is December 3rd, when the event Frank mentioned will be happening, and that is Young and Future Generations Day. And then the day after, on December 4th, will be Education Day. So Earth Day Network, we will be talking about our initiative with Angry Birds, where we created a climate change version of the Angry Birds game for a week during Climate Week, when leaders met at the UN in September in New York City. And that was actually also under the White House Climate Literacy Initiative. We announced that partnership through there as well. So it's really great to see all of these commitments coming to fruition here as well at COP. So that will be just another moment to reflect upon how and exchange best practices and new ideas, and for us, particularly in the informal space, how to use different methods of education, as funny as they may be, being an app on your iPhone. So that has really been a great time, and whoops, sorry about that. And we're really looking forward to it. So I know that I'm happy to take any more questions, and it looks like we have even more to do and more to go, lots of events, so please stay up to date through the Youth for Climate hashtag, connect with that. And as Frank showed you already, and I had the same idea, there's so much going on, and we want you to key into it, definitely. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. So we can take questions now. Most people are muted. If you have a question.
Depending on how many participants are playing,
Hello.
It's a good idea to have at least 3 to 4 people in each.
There's an awful lot of echo going if we unmute everybody. So if someone needs to ask a question, then unmute yourself and speak up.
Any questions?
Yeah. So I have a question for Gina. Are you going to be able to meet with other delegates, or what are your plans for the rest of your visit there?
Well, I'll be back. I didn't go back inside the accreditation zone today, but I'm going back Wednesday. And so, because I have a meeting in there, but in terms of other events that I'm doing, it's really the event on Thursday that Frank mentioned. So the other delegates that I've met were yesterday at the event, and then, Jeanette, who was on the panel. Other than that,
we've been spending, so this is Jen, we've been spending time in the climate generation space today, but there are, if there are opportunities to engage with other events, and we're going to be attending some different receptions and other things around the city. We'd certainly be happy to meet up, and we can figure out how to make those arrangements.
Okay, thanks. So Juliet, you had mentioned that you're going to be running one of your World Climate Games. Can you tell us a little bit more about the context, who you're going to be running it with, and how you're planning to play that out?
Could you repeat that last part? I missed a little bit of that. This is Juliet.
Oh, I was just asking, you had mentioned that you were going to be running one of your World Climate Games there, and I thought you might share a little bit more about who you're going to be running with, what's the context, and how that's going to play out.
Yeah, so we're going to be running World Climate in the climate generation area, which is really, it's on Education Day, so the goal is to reach a range of people from educators, young people, and hopefully some people involved with education policy as well. But I guess we still don't know yet who's going to be there. It's just, anybody's free to sign up. The context, I'm sure we'll be sharing our analysis of the INDCs and what's, the pledges that are on the table right now as part of that event. But really it'll be up to the people there to create the future that they want to create. I don't know. Yep.
So does anybody else have a question? Well, maybe Frank, do you want, a lot of people on the phone may not be aware of the social media kit and the calendar. You want to talk a little bit about that and how it's being used?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Can you pass the screen sharing? It might be the easiest just to show you where it is. And also in the chat window, I put the event on the 4th, Education Day at COP21, the information there. So somebody can pass there it is. So now I'm sharing my screen. So there it is. So for those of you, right now I'm showing you just the overview of the day at the COP21 that is focused on this. And gotta get back to there. So here's the ACE at COP21, which is the action on climate engagement, empowerment. That's it. I see they changed the name on me 4 months ago, and I've still got a heart. I'm still stuck in the past. So there it is, right there. Action for climate empowerment. And I think that if you want to go to find the social media kit and where all the events are, so let's just go. Let's go to the main page of climate.gov. And you can see here, right here, this picture down here. You can see the youth engagement events, and these are all the events that have happened so far. So you see, remember we started when the Adirondack Youth Climate Summit happened on November 12th. That's what we started the campaign for the Youth for Climate, and then just proceed down the list. We've already completed quite a few things. And we just completed yesterday. And then Climate Generations, A Will Steger Legacy, is starting their blogging campaign with their students and their partners. They're coming very soon, and Kristen, as you know, will be has the sharing next week on the 8th. Johanna, I don't believe will still be here, and Juliet won't be here, and I won't be here, but others in our community will be here. So, and that are here. But then also, you can see here that there's the December 3rd event at the Science Center is also listed here. This one I'll highlight for you guys here. And I just got the screen sharing information, so I'll be adding that to this event. If you want to participate in that, if there are members in the community that are working in the informal space and want to really explore that further, I would highly encourage you guys to join. Again, I'll send you that information in just a second. So, And then if you go back to the top here, there is a social media kit. And really, we are seeing the power of doing this through social media. That's why we chose the Youth for Climate hashtag. And all the information here, Johanna put this together for us over at Earth Day Network. And, you know, it has all our handles and our hashtags and sample tweets and Instagram. Actually, one of the things that happened when I was up at another commitment under the White House initiative in Boston, I stayed with my sister and her kids said, yeah, we don't use Twitter, we use Instagram. I'm like, okay. So we've started using Instagram. I'm just telling you guys that you know, you got to know your audience, and I'm still getting schooled myself. So we've been using Instagram and Twitter for non-youth. Some youth use it, but anyway, all the information's there. I think that you can find access to this and explore it further and really dig in and contribute to it. Because if we're going to continue to fuse the value of engagement of youth, empowerment of youth, training of youth, and educating youth in this space, then we're going to have to do it together. And I think that that's really clear here. And there are a lot more people at this conference that are yet to work in this space. And I think that that's a really powerful opportunity for us. So maybe I should stop there if that's enough, Tamara.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Are there any other questions? Do people know of other colleagues who are in Paris now that you could inform us about what their activities are?
Don't be shy, guys.
Yes. Remember, you have to unmute yourself in order to ask a question.
And Dan, maybe unmute the call-in users and see if anybody from the phone has.
Hello, this is Walter from Aztec.
Okay, great.
This is Walter. Can you hear me?
Yes, Walter, go ahead. Ask your question.
Oh, thank you. I've been following it from the beginning, and I think Frank did a great job on reporting on what happened yesterday. And I just want to add something to that. I don't really have a question, but I just received an email from a guy who's responsible for the sustainable work of Facebook, and he's organizing a roundtable on Thursday morning with youth. And he is, based on what happened yesterday, he's invited our students to be part of that Facebook event at the summit. So I just want to say that it's all growing very fast, and it's a very high impact. So we're very happy about how this all evolves. So that I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, great.
And if you want to follow the event on Thursday afternoon from the Science Center, and if you don't have the link yet, and just give us now, just go to the Aztec webpage, astc.org, and you click on the link, and you will be able to follow it live. Thank you.
Could you send it? Could you send an email? Could you send it? This is Martha. Could you send an email to the group with that?
Sure, I will do that. And so the additional thing that we will be live with kids from India, from Argentina, from Finland, South Africa, in addition to our students from Detroit and from the Wild Center. So we're really excited about that.
And what is it? Can you say again what the focus is of that event?
Well, it's building on what we did yesterday. It's a report on youth climate summits that we promoted all over the world. So not only in the U.S., as Jen eloquently reported about, but we have stimulated the organization of youth summits in many places in the world, and other science and network helped us with that. And so we have a contribution now from Mundo Nuevo, which is the Science Center of the University of La Plata in Argentina, representing Latin America. We have a contribution from Hurricane Science Center representing Europe. We have the KwaZulu-Natal Science Center representing the South African network of science centers. And we'll have a science center in Lucknow, the north of India. And these guys, they have gone through a national competition, including 20 science centers, to select the best presentation. And we'll speak with these young kids tomorrow, Thursday, sorry.
Okay, that's great. That's on Thursday, right?
On Thursday, yes. It will be 9 Eastern time, yeah, 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, great. Thanks.
Correct.
Are there other questions or comments? I think we have all of the people that are just on phones unmuted now, so you can speak more easily, I think.
Well, this is Martha, and I wasn't able to see the slides, and I was wondering if the slides are going to be up on the Clean Network site.
We're recording the whole session, so the recording, including the visuals, will be posted.
Thank you.
This is
Good
Karen.
job, everybody.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Karen Holweg, and the Center for Environment Education in Ahmedabad, India, where I did my Fulbright, is there in Paris this week, actually for the 2 weeks. And it seems to me, given the importance of India, this is a nationwide organization in India. It seems, given the importance of India, it seems to me it might be interesting for some of you who are there to meet with that delegation. And I just don't know I've connected Kristen with them, but is there any way that I can convey their email address, for instance, to the rest of you? Or are you interested?
This is Frank Neapold at NOAA. I'm absolutely interested, and I think that one of the real opportunities here is to explore the wider set of partnerships that are out there beyond where we are with the U.S. within the U.S. And I think that Walter and his vision of what we were going to do all the way back a year ago, over a year ago, was really to connect us what we're trying to do inside the United States with what we're trying to do in the wider community. And it's very clear that that's the spirit, that's the sense of what we're doing in Paris. And so I think that I'm more than happy to meet with them if at all possible before I leave this weekend.
Karen, why don't you share that information with the listserv, and then that way everybody, those of you who might not be on the listserv, you can contact either me or somebody if you would like it to be forwarded to you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments, questions?
So Tamara, just one last thing I'll say, since we're being shy tonight. I think the spirit of what's going on here is something that I hope we, Johanna, Gina, Jen, myself, Jeanette, Juliet, are conveying, but it's very inspiring. It's very clear, and we're in Paris. Not so long ago, Paris was in our minds for another reason. And that's, I think, very pressing that some of the words the president said about the best thing we could do to fight what was done here earlier. And we pass one of the stadiums where one of the attacks happen every day, and is to unify ourselves. So I think the spirit of what we're trying to do here is to unify. And when you meet with the people, I had a question from somebody in Malawi who was asking, how do we work with you? Somebody from Serbia, how do we work with you? So I think, it's a challenge for us in the Clean Network is to how do we connect with other networks that are looking for collaboration and share practice and share partnership and share, ideas and what works and what doesn't. And there's a lot of missed opportunities here. So I think we have to really focus ourselves on how to grow that connection.
Frank, I would suggest that if you engage with people who seem really interested, you can certainly share that they can become a member of the Clean Network. They just have to say they want to be on the listserv, and all of a sudden there is a link there that they can tap into, and then we can build that relationship. So So please explore that possibility.
Absolutely exploring that possibility. On one of the things I'm looking forward to on the Education Day is to actively build partnerships, and I have bookmarks from the Clean Network that are going to Education Day, and we'll be, shamelessly plugging partnership building. I think that's one of the powerful things we can do inside the context of the COP21 and the UNFCCC, and that's how this is going to work. The partnership that was done through Youth for Climate, with Connect for Climate and the Wild Center and Alliance for Climate Education, Earth Day Network, and Aztec is a testament to you can do a lot. No money was shared, just a lot of good ideas and good collaborations, and got it done. So I think that's a really inspiring space, and it was built partly out of the Clean Network, but beyond it, I think bringing it back in and sharing and building on it is really the work before us. So absolutely we'll be doing that, but I think, we're going to have to challenge ourselves to think broader than our normal spaces. I think that's what's being asked of us.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right, thanks. So we are towards the end of the hour. I wanted to first advertise next week. We have Clean Network at COP21 Phase 2 next week. Kristen Poppleton from the Climate Generation Will Steer Legacy is in Paris with 10 teachers, and she will be on our call next week. And we may also have Marta Kim from, I believe, Colorado. She's an artist, and maybe connect with Kristen and present some of what she's been doing. She will be doing there. So we at least have those two next week, and we may have others join them. So with that, I also want to thank again the ESIP Federation, the Federation of Earth Science Information Partners, and the Foundation for Earth Science for hosting our event today and next week. This has been extremely helpful, and we really appreciate it.